Now, Alistair Campbell famously said Tony Blair didn't do God, but David Cameron has no such reservations. As we approach Easter, the Prime Minister has stressed his Christian faith, writing in the Church Times that Britain should be more confident and even evangelical about being a Christian country. Michael Crick explores whether his guiding light is really spiritual or more to do with a political second coming.
This is Magic.
His faith is a bit like the reception for Magic FM in the Chilterns, David Cameron once said, lifting a line from Boris Johnson. It sort of comes and goes. But this week, his Christian signals sound well-tuned. After his Easter reception in Downing Street, today's message in the Church Times, and this on YouTube.
Easter is not just a time for Christians across our country to reflect, but a time for our whole country to reflect on what Christianity brings to Britain.
Remarkably, every 2 or 3 weeks, Cameron finds time to visit his church in West London for Thursday morning Eucharist.
I would think that his own world picture is developing to the extent that he's more and more aware of the significance of faith, both for good and for bad, and I think he's very keen to do what he can to encourage good and positive faith.
Does David Cameron really come here on a regular basis?
He certainly does, yes. Not as frequently as we like, but he does indeed.
David Cameron told church leaders at his Easter reception last week, Jesus invented the big society 2,000 years ago, and I just want to see more of it. If there are things that are stopping you from doing more, think of me as the giant dino rod.
He's trying to shore up his support among older Conservative church-going voters who are tempted by UKIP. That's the first thing. I think second, he is trying to keep his relations with the churches in as good repair as he can.
Not easy when his government's in conflict with the church on gay marriage, welfare and food banks.
It is a scandal that in a rich city like London we need food banks, and all our political leaders need holding to account for this.
So when you hear David Cameron professes Anglicanism and his Christianity, you still think it's genuine, even though you disagree with him on issues like that?
I applaud him for being open and honest about this. We pray for him and our political leaders in our daily prayers, and I think we uphold each other.
But you don't think it's a ploy, really, to win back those more traditional, elderly type of voters who might be attracted by going to UKIP?
I don't think it's for a bishop to be cynical, but I think it's for me to give praise where praise is due.
We're hearing this stuff about, Christian faith and wanting to live out the gospel and the fact that he's a believer, but then you look at the policies and you think about the vulnerable people that are suffering, and that isn't what Christianity looks like, at least if you draw from the New Testament text. So as a theologian, I look at his policies and I look at his claims, and to me they don't actually add up. So it just somehow doesn't quite feel honest.
And mixing politics and religion could be risky too. For every voter reassured, others might be put off.
Michael Crick on the giant dino rod, God and Cameron, but not necessarily in that order. On that note, that's all we have time for. We're back tomorrow at 7. Until then, have a very good evening. Good night.